Hi everyone. I've been intrigued by the new free and loading card, Tallie. It seems like a new good way to counter any sort of Scorched Earth combos from Weyland decks. So I decided to construct my own noise deck, old school noise deck based on Parasite Recursion, and throw in the Tallie and give it a try. Now this game, you can see me using Tallie and Flint. They both go hand in hand because they all leverage on the corp accumulating bad pulp. I tried to find games with as the runner on Octagon against corp, and the very first game that I found was against Grindel of all corps, a Grindel. So that was very great. I was very excited that I get to test my deck against the target that the deck. The reason why I built this deck, I'm testing it against the ideal punchback. You could say, pretty much. A Grindel that definitely has some sort of way to flatline me. So on my initial turn, I quickly get both Tallie and Flint up as a deterrent for him scoring any bad pup, whether it be with hostile takeover or otherwise. He begins installing, quickly trying to get on the board apparently. So I attempt to make him rest the ice, and voila, it's a 0 strength Chimera. Perfect. That is no good defense against any Anarch. You should know that. So I busted through it and easily scored the posted bounty. Whew, that was close. Had he, if he was able to get that off, next turn I could be in deep trouble. And then he double advanced something with no protection whatsoever. I was thinking, this is Jintaki Mind Game to max. What on earth do you have in there? I deliberated this for long and hard, and then came to the conclusion that Grindel only has 10 influence. There's no way he would be able to splash any sort of trap. So I'm just going to access it, and it turns out it's a Grindel refinery. Great, that's going off. So pretty good start from me, but I'm low on economy. This deck, my noise deck, is rather low on economy. As I mentioned in my how to combat the combo deck, Anarch don't really have very good economy inflection aside from liberator accounts, and even that takes a lot of starting credit to establish. So I'm running fairly low econ. Instead, I'm relying on the power of Sahasrara to install my programs. Having 2 recurring credits to install programs every turn is huge. I began installing the Parasite since I had nothing better to do. I didn't want to draw cards because I already had Wildside, so I simply installed my Parasite on the Bastion, waiting for it to eventually eat the Bastion alive, and hopefully get a free agenda in archives, but I don't. But now at least I have a good amount of credits thanks to Sure Gamble. And I have a clone chip in my hand. Most importantly, I have the clone chip, which means that I can fish out my Parasite whenever I need. I draw even more economy cards. I don't really need economy at this point. I'm digging for my data sucker, which, the noise deck really heavily relies on getting an early data sucker, pumping out those data tokens, and being able to destroy any piece of ice at will. It's so important. He scores geothermal fracking, and I'm very happy. I was jumping for joy when I saw that, because that means that he's going to get bad pup sooner or later when he needs the money. And bad pup means more fuel for Tallie and also means free HQ accesses, even though it's not my turn. And the best thing is that I can use Imp to trash any cards I access from HQ, which is such a good synergy. Unfortunately, I don't have an Imp yet, but that's so cool. The ability to trash an enemy's card from HQ, even though it's not your turn. They get a bad pup, you instantly access from HQ and trash whatever combo pieces they have. That's so good. So he does use geothermal fracking, and I get 2 free accesses. I see the mid-seasons and a close accounts. Well, so much for that. That's a lot of tech punishment. So I really don't want to have any tags lying around. But I knew they would come sooner or later since he had 30 credits. It was only a matter of time, really. I installed 2 clone chips because in case he decides to pull off an accelerated diagnostics combo. Accelerated diagnostics costs only 1 influence, so it never ever ruled that out as a possibility. Being able to mill cards even though it's not your turn is quite important now that this combo exists. And I finally drew into my Grimoire. Goodness me, it took me forever. My cards would be so much better if I had Grimoire installed. But anyway, now that I have Grimoire, I installed the Imp for 3 tokens and I ran Archives. Oh, an agenda. Okay, mid-seasons is live. Ready to go. Yep, it's coming, it's coming, it's coming, and sure enough, the trace fires. I knew I couldn't beat the trace, so there was no point boosting my link. And I knew that there was no way I was going to spend my waste a lot of tempo clearing tags. So I just left it as it was, even though I knew very well he could clear all my credits with close accounts. I didn't really care because I needed to. I mean, yeah, that's the best possible. I mean, yeah, losing all my credits is not going to help me at all in winning this game. So I just let everything go. Thankfully, he didn't close my accounts. So having a Tallie in hand, I reinstall it since he trashed it since I was tagged last turn. And I continued placing pressure on his HQ. Nothing much I got from it though, in other mid-seasons, which is now useless. So his turn starts, and I immediately trash Tallie for the card draw. This was very necessary because I was already tagged. So I do not want to lose my Tallie to resource trashing. So I had to use my Tallie, and unfortunately, yeah, he had 3 Scorched Earths in hand. Nothing could save me from my inevitable doom. The conclusion I drew from this game was that Tallie is overrated. It seems so good on paper to be able to draw cards when it's not your turn, and moreover, have the card draw leverage on Bad Pulp, which is a feature that Weyland decks often use, and Weyland decks are the decks that you're most worried about when it comes to being flatline. Unfortunately, no, this doesn't work. The very fact that it's a resource means that you cannot stay in tag me mode and play Tallie. It's just not gonna work. Yeah, and with a lot of tag resources that are based on receiving tags, unfortunately, once again, this just shows that Anarch cards are very anti-self-synergistic, which is a very huge pity. The other problem is that Tallie requires the card to be trash in order to get the card draw, which means that if you are tag flooded with mid-seasons, for example, it can only save your butt for 1 turn. 1 turn could be the difference between winning and losing, but most of the time, it doesn't matter. And it certainly doesn't matter enough to justify that card slot for Tallie. As cool as Tallie is, I won't see myself using her in my decks. Maybe if someone can show me how Tallie can be used effectively, I will reconsider, but right now, it's not looking very good in my books. Seems like we'll just have to stick to the good old method of Plascrete carapace. So, do you have a better way of using Tallie? Do enlighten me. Leave your comments in the chat box below. Thanks for watching. See you next time.